Hi and welcome to another How to English video. So I'm going to be answering a question of how long will it take me to get to advanced. So How to English is all about independent English learning and particularly from getting from intermediate to advanced English. This is all I do basically. Now the frustrating thing for you is that I can't give you an answer, but I can give you a negative answer. So I can't tell you how long it will take you to get to advanced from intermediate. Of course, each learner is different. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses, and people can dedicate a certain number of hours to English, maybe only a couple, and others can dedicate maybe 20, 30 hours a week to English. So it very much does depend on a number of factors, but what's more important than that is how long should it not take you to get to advanced. So if you've been stuck at intermediate for what you would consider to be a long time, or you just have the feeling that you're stuck, really, that's actually a good indication that you need to change the way that you're learning. So if you're not making progress from intermediate, you're going to need to change something in your learning process, because intermediate, it has the danger of being stuck at that level for a long time. But if you study in a very clever way, in a very intelligent way, and effectively, then you can get to advanced relatively quickly. So how long should it not take you to learn English? Well, I can definitely tell you that it's not going to take you 3 months, as lots of people promise on the internet. 3 months to advanced, 90 days to advanced, fluent in 30 days. It's all a lie. They know it's a lie. You deep down know that it's a lie as well, but it sounds very attractive and people often follow that idea. But really it doesn't give any results, because it does need to take time, because you do need to perfect the English base, the fundamental basics in English, and you also need to accumulate a bit more language as well in order to get to advanced. That's just part of the process. But it won't take you a month. It should take you longer. Now, I have seen a few people get advanced in like 3 months, okay, but they are the exceptions. They're 1 in 100. I've had thousands of students now, and I have come across those people, but they are a handful. Maybe 5, maybe 10, but out of thousands of students. So obviously it's the safest thing to do is assume that you are not the exception. If you are the exception, then you will find out quickly and you will get the results very quickly. But it is safer to assume that you're not an exception, you're just a normal person, and you should learn and practice using, let's say, standard principles. So it won't take you 30 days, it won't take you 3 months. Okay, what else can we say in terms of timeframes that it won't take you? So it shouldn't take you multiple years. It shouldn't be taking you that long. If you've been stuck at intermediate for anything from 2, 3 or more years, I've got some good news. You're doing something wrong. Now it sounds bad, but it's actually a good thing to be told that you're doing something wrong. If you're not making progress at intermediate for an extended period of time, you are doing something wrong. Now, I don't mean that as criticism at all. It probably just means that you're learning in a random way, or you're only learning and practicing your strengths. This is a really big mistake. So everybody has a particular strength in English and in learning in general. Now, your strengths are the things that come easily to you. They're not a problem for you. You find it very comfortable to do that. Maybe this is vocabulary or reading or listening, and you're very comfortable doing those things. So what do? You do more of those things. Why is that a problem? Well, because if you only improving your strengths, well, your strength is already strong. That's why it's called a strength. You're not going to be addressing your weaknesses. So all of the focus at intermediate needs to be putting all your attention on your weaknesses. That's the only thing that's going to get you out of this level, because if you keep pushing your strength up, well, your weaknesses are still down here. That cannot lift you off the ground. If your weaknesses are down here, it doesn't matter how much you push up your strength, it's not going to all move up together. So that is a very, very common mistake that people make, and that makes them trapped and stuck at intermediate level. Do not just focus on your strengths. I always say your strengths will look after themselves. Focus on your weaknesses. Now, focusing on your weaknesses is inherently uncomfortable because, well, it's your weakness. It feels uncomfortable, maybe feels difficult, but that's exactly what you should be practicing and learning and working to improve. Focus on your weaknesses. Don't worry about your strength. Your strengths will look after themselves. Another reason that you might be stuck at the intermediate level is that you're learning randomly. Now, when I say learning randomly, you can learn randomly in two different ways. Either randomly regarding time. What does that mean? Maybe you practice a lot of English for 1 month and then you don't do anything for 6 weeks, and then you feel really bad and guilty and you start practicing again for another month, and then you don't do anything for another month, and you're just constantly up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, up and down and up and down doesn't make you go up. It keeps you at the same level, yeah? Up and down is the same as just a straight line. So that's going to keep you at that level. Another way that you can study, practice and learn randomly is, for example, today you're watching a film in English, and then tomorrow you're doing a random lesson about, I don't know, for example, conditionals, and you don't even know if you have problems with conditionals, but you find yourself doing that exercise. A few days later, you're listening to a podcast, then the next day you're doing a vocabulary lesson about vocabulary that maybe you're never going to use. This is random learning also. So you're learning through random material and random skills in English. As I said before, you really need to focus your attention on your weaknesses. So if your weakness is, for example, speaking, you dedicate most of your time speaking. If it's grammar, you dedicate most of your practice time on grammar and improving grammar. It doesn't matter what your weakness is, put most of your attention, let's say 75, 80%, a majority of your time, focusing on your weaknesses. If your weaknesses go up, your strengths automatically go up with it and your level goes up. So that's really the most important thing. So work out, try and identify what your problem is, why you're not making progress, and then from that will tell you how you need to practice, what you need to learn, what you need to improve, and everything. So it's not going to be a month. It's not going to be 3 months, probably, unless you're an exception, but you're probably not. But it shouldn't take you more than a year. A year, I find, is more than enough time to get to advanced from intermediate. Now, that's not a long time. I much prefer, well, it's not even a promise, but the goal of achieving advanced English in 1 year, because it's not an empty promise. And you know deep down that, okay, if I really put myself to work on this thing, really have a clear goal, really work, not randomly, focusing on my weaknesses, practicing regularly, you can get it in a year. You know that for a fact. So it's a really, really good time frame to go for, because you can dedicate 1 year just to this thing and you really go for it, and you will get it in a year if you're very clever about it. So it's not unachievable at all. I've seen with all of my students that follow the kind of method that I that I recommend, they all get it in a year. They all get advanced in 1 year. And a year is a really nice number. It's an easy number to remember. It's a really good goal to have. It's why we make New Year's resolutions, for example, because you got 1 year to achieve it. It's not a ridiculously long amount of time, but it's enough time to really focus your attention and get serious about one thing. So 1 year from now, you can be advanced, absolutely. If you just put yourself to it, focus your attention on what you're learning, how you're practicing, you can totally do it in 1 year. So I always recommend 1 year is more than enough time to do it. If you get it in less, fantastic. But really try and avoid the trap of being stuck at intermediate. There's nothing worse than being stuck at that level, but it's really easy to get to advanced if you just focus. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If this is your first time watching How to English videos, please hit like, but more importantly, subscribe, and then click the reminder button so that you receive a notification for every video that we upload. I'll see you next time. Take care.